Imwana watu moyo imemwemba mupale yenime Dr. Basi tipinya singandu mwemba kapasa munene ulomba nongalu nkondo malumbu ngondo moga kujana kubira kanu wa ulasero ibintu balongangu irajisa Lwenda ndoenda Rupiah Banda mulongangu lwanyisa bantu Lwenda ndoenda Rupiah mulongangu lwanyisa bantu Baba majisija kuwengwa Bankaga jisija jipatawo Aga Rupiah langa milimo njoli ubelega mulongangu Yajala ilagamba oganino Yaganjo pona ile itepa ipi mulongangu Ukalaga watu abantu Agabanda o Nana o Agabanda wali mulongwa na mulongangu wali una bantu Neuwa kumwembe shigonse impo iliterewe Ujipata wonse impo iliterewe Uli mwana jungwala, uli ya musonde, aga mulongangu o, nana o, aga Rupiah wali mulongwa na nkaga wali una bantu Ndali ulanga kumwana bulongo walongangu ijile magainde, wambila jisi ya wonyina, wamba mwana gabama Rupiah, ulelele ulilwa ya bulemu, ulelele ulilwa ya bulemu mulongwa nao, kambo mibalongwa na balongangu waba, ibagalele jisi kwa mewa ya tate munigao. Ndali ulanga kumwana gabama ijile mabalongangu wagayila banjiwe aino aga mulongangu ulila Rupiah Banda mujendewe ena aga mulongangu langa ino yole gayonde Yamuga gamoli ni mwana wasao Gagumuli agatandiwe pandao Yamuga gamayimpesta lungwe Gagumuli agamuga pandawe Yamuga gamayimpe mutinta ejilema Gagumuli agatandiwe pandao Nuwa muga angulanga yole gayondeo Amuyange miwokwa gamayimpe moli ni mwana wasao Amuyange miwokwa mutinta ejilema Esta lungwe Kristina kasema Amuyange miwoko Mugagumuli etandiwe pandao Nuwana gaba malanga yole gayondeo Ndali ulanga kumwana gaba mayile magainde Wamina jisi ya wonyina Wamba nubana bagaba moyi mulongwa nawe Tijali jonde utali ulomba mano Ninwaga gabalongangu yole gayonde Wamba
Hello. Good evening, Chuempala. Elias Monsha here. Today marks another day of the official national mourning period in Zambia, mourning the death of Rupiah Banda, who governed Zambia from about 2008 to 2011. Dr. Rupiah Banda has been, of course, he started serving our country as a youth and then rose up through the ranks. At one point, he retired to his village in Chipata. And then from Chipata, he was fished back into active politics when he was appointed as vice president. From being vice president around 2006, he then became president of the Republic of Zambia after winning a presidential by-election in 2008. A life that long, at 85, there are several stories that can connect to us, both good things and bad things, both strengths and weaknesses. And so on TVBAKWETU today, we would like to continue reflecting on the life of Rupiah Banda. And with me today to help me in this reflection of the life of Rupiah Banda is, of course, our all-weather friend, Mr. Wynegood Malunga. Mr. Malunga, good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing? You
We're doing
sneaked out
very
on
well.
me.
Welcome to TVBAKWETU. We always miss you here, and we know that we've related very well over the years, and so thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, I think there is a volume issue. Let me see, maybe it's my volume. Let me try to turn it up on a little bit. Oh, yes, it was probably my volume.
It was yours, no? Okay. All right.
Yes. So good evening. Now, the song that I was playing is a Kuyabila traditional morning sound from Southern Province, and so I played it because it's very reflective of the mood of the country over the passing of Rupiah Banda. And so we played it. I believe we're going to have a little bit of interpretation at a later stage during the program for somebody to let us know exactly what is being sung. But I think it's a moment of mourning. Somebody is using the Kuyabila sound of reflecting on the life of Rupiah Banda, bringing in the community, bringing in the president, Hakainde Hichilema, bringing in the former presidents, bringing in the first ladies, bringing in the nation, and all those stories in between. So we are very happy that you could join us, Mr. Malunga.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Rupiah Banda, where do we start from? It is a long story. It is a long history. I'd like you to have a go at it. Who was Rupiah Banda to you?
Well, for me, I knew about him when I was young, when he was in government as a diplomat. In fact, I think it's 2 or 3 years ago when we were burying my friend Jere Mwamba's father, President Banda was there, and he spoke about his tenure as ambassador in Egypt, which was his first assignment in Egypt.
At 26, at age 26.
Yeah, something like that. I think 27 or something. He was now. People have been talking about him as being a humble man, jovial, and all that. And over the period, I have sort of identified him with that kind of description, because he said that when he was appointed ambassador to Egypt just after independence, President Kaunda knew that these were young guys, new in government, and they needed backup experienced people. So he appointed Jere Mwamba's father, Mr. Mwamba, to be the deputy ambassador. So he was a backup. So by him saying that, just showed that he knew his limits as a new person in foreign service. And then, of course, later he went to the UN and to Washington. Now, I am a student of foreign policy and diplomacy, and I followed many of people who served in foreign service. You know, the Dustin Kamanas, Tekemwale, my big brother Vijay Mwanga, and so forth. You know, up to that time, really, I hadn't met Mr. Banda. I hadn't met him yet, but I used to follow his statements and at the United Nations, and the breed of diplomats we had at the time of Rupiah Banda and so forth. I mean, they were solid guys. They really knew their place, and they could stand up to anyone in the world at the UN, in the Security Council, whether it's at the OAU and etc. But my first meeting with Mr. Banda was in 1984, I think early 1984, when I was director at Colgate-Palmolive. We were so involved in the community, and one of our major areas of participation was sports.
Right.
A friend of mine who had an advertising agency, he actually established an advertising agency in Lusaka, because he lived here, he worked here, well-known personality, PR, communications expert, Donald Lightfoot, who established Lightfoot Advertising. He called up once when he settled in Zimbabwe, in Harare. He called up once and said, listen, let's do something for football. I would like to bring Liverpool to Zambia, and I would like somebody to work with. Is your company willing to do that? And of course, that was in our arena of participation. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So we started working on it. And we had to deal with the Football Association of Zambia. And it just happens that at that time, President Rupiah Banda was the vice president. I think they called him chairman at that time. He was vice chairman of the Football Association of Zambia, first vice chairman. And I think the second vice chairman was the lawyer J.B. Sakala. And the president was Mr. Tom Umtine, and I knew all these gentlemen, but not really Mr. Banda. But I had to deal with him as vice chairman, and because on the other hand, Tom Umtine lived in Ndola, so I could see him all the time. But the secretariat being in Lusaka, I used to fly over to Lusaka. And I'll never forget this. Mr. Banda at that time was not in government. He was not serving in government at that time, but he was running his company, Robert Hudson. They had a branch in Ndola. I knew his son very well in Ndola, and he had his office in Lusaka on Freedom Way, opposite Bible House. So that's how we first met, and we began planning. So we would meet in his office, chart the way forward, and the negotiations with Liverpool sort of slipped off because they changed their itinerary. It was off season. They changed their itinerary to fly to Europe. So Donald Lightfoot, with his contacts in England, he managed to get Stoke City. Stoke City was going to fly to Zambia, and this was the closest relationship I had in organizing a soccer event, with Mr. Banda. I'm not calling him president because he wasn't president yet, but
no, that's understandable because he at 85 you can be so many things to so many people.
Oh yes, oh yes indeed, yes indeed. So I flew down to Lusaka several times, and we started planning, and we sponsored the whole thing. The plane tickets, the hotel accommodations for both the Zambian team and the visiting team. And Stoke City was flying in, accompanied also, not only by their team manager, but by the England manager, who was Bob Robson at that time. And I hosted him at the house in Ndola. Now, working with him, was really easy because he was open to opinions, he was open to suggestions, and seeking new ways of putting this whole thing together. So he was really my contact person, my anchor in the whole thing. So when one day I was in his office, and I had arrived just before lunch from lunch hour from Dola, and we were having the meeting, and it was running into lunchtime. So guess what? RB ordered takeaways, and we were discussing while eating, across the desk in his office, and. Life can be strange. I mean, I'm sitting across to this man, and you never realize that one day he will be president. He will be a head of state. Now, my picture is frozen here. Is it frozen over there?
No, it's not. You're okay.
Okay. All right. As long. So you never know that he'll be head of state, and I think that was one of the last few meetings that we were going to have. And something happened that afternoon. At about 15, 16 hours, his personal assistant, his secretary, brought in a telex. And he read it, and his face just dropped. He said, "Oh, this is from State House." If you remember, the president's son, President Kaunda's son, Masuzio, hadn't been well for quite a while, and this was a message telling him that Masuzio had fallen sick again, and he had been admitted at the university teaching hospital. And he said, "I have to go there." Now, I had to fly back to Ndola. I had to catch my flight back to Ndola. So here's a man, he could have called anybody, a driver or somebody to drive me to the airport. But in his Mercedes, I think it was a green Mercedes-Benz, and he drove me to the airport in Ndola and saw me off. And, he went to the university teaching hospital to join the Kaunda family. That was the man, and I sometimes think about this. Here's a man. He was a foreign affairs minister. He was in the U.S. as ambassador at the United Nations, and I mean, this is a big guy, and it takes time just to drive me to the airport to catch my plane.
Right.
But Comrade Musha, that was not all. What blew my mind, and something I will never ever forget, I've mentioned it to some friends. My dad was quite ill in 1989, and Dr. Kaunda had knew about it, and he had written me a letter to take to my dad, and he was always wanting to hear what was going on. Now, when my father died on December 22nd, 1989, we were making the burial arrangements, and when we went to Leopard's Hill, where my sister was buried, we wanted to bury him next to her, but the Leopard's Hill Cemetery had been closed then. There were no burials taking place there. So I was walking with my brother and my cousin, General Tom Farah. You remember him? We were going to the council, Lusaka City Council, to get the permits and all that. Now, as we were walking up, there was RB coming out, walking out of the offices, because at that time he was governor for Lusaka. He was district governor for Lusaka. Yeah, so we greeted each other and and I told him what had happened and the problem the family had, that we were unable to bury Dad at Leopard's Hill. And he said, no, let me talk to somebody. So we walked back to the office, and he called the man who was really in charge of burial space and all that at Leopard's Hill. So he called the man, made arrangements for us to go and meet this man, directed me to his house. He lived just off Chilimbulu Road, and asked the gentleman to ensure that we had all the help that we needed.
Right.
And we drove there, and this man just did as he was told, helped us, and we were able to bury my father next to his daughter.
Right.
Now that's an incredible experience, and nobody can ever forget that. I could never ever forget that. RB was from a group or a cadre of politicians, men and women at that time, who didn't look at their stature and then look down upon you.
Right.
My daughter was on ZNBC yesterday. My daughter Rebecca Becky, she was speaking from Orlando, paying a tribute from Orlando, Florida, where she lives. And she said they were covering. She worked for the Daily Mail then. They were covering the president someplace. I can't remember what she said now, but someplace, and it was very hot. And the president went to her and asked her. RB was president, and asked her, you are in the sun. Becky, this is not good for you. Don't you have an umbrella or anything like that? And she said no. And he took off his hat. The president of the Republic of Zambia took off his hat and offered it to my daughter, and said, no. So he says, no, I don't want anything to go wrong. So she wore the president's hat until the whole event was over, and she says she gave it back to him. That was, that kind of leadership you don't see anymore. You don't see anymore. So really, after he became president, we never met. There was no. I was going in and out of the country. I lived outside, and even when I came back here, there was never an opportunity. But I would tell my daughter, please say hi to him. Say hi to him.
All right.
That's the man.
Now, of course, a lot of good things there at a personal level. Of course, he retires to now. One of the things is he experiences several personal tragedies. Of course, in 1991, he lost the Munali seat. He stood for Munali in 1991 during the hour. I just don't remember very well, Mr. Malunga. Were you part of UNIP in 91, or you had crossed over to MMD, or you were neutral?
No, I didn't cross over to. I was still a UNIP sympathizer. I loved President Kenneth Kaunda very much, but I faced reality that the tide was changing. And I thought that my old man had done a great job. And, since they were saying the hour, has come, let's see what it is that they would do. But so, I remained loyal to the man.
So Rupiah Banda lost in 91, and then a few years later, he retired, just like everyone else, I think.
Yes.
He felt like he was old.
Yeah.
He retired. When I look back, Kaunda was only 67 in 1991 when he lost, which is relatively young.
Yeah. Yes.
But the whole category of them, they felt like they had to retire. They were done, and then of course he went back to the village, only to be fished back almost a decade later in 2006 to become vice president. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
but oh yes,
I can understand. I can understand the calling of RB to become vice president, and I think also MMD needed the Eastern Province, right. And here was a man highly respected that could sort of balance leadership at a top level. And really, when he became vice president, I was first taken aback because I was saying to myself, what will the other old guards in the MMD say? But anyway, he came in, and even when President Mwanawasa died, I really had this thing in my mind that here's a man who's got a chance to be a great president. So I wished him well. I really did. I wished him well.
All right. So one of the things is the mixed legacy. The fact that after 2008 he becomes president, but I'm sympathetic to several currents that were going on at that time. There is, of course, the Barotseland issue boiling. There is the pressure from the MMD itself, because Mwanawasa's obvious successor wasn't going to be RB by any chance. And so there is a lot of frustration among the Mwanawasa loyalists. And it wouldn't be surprising that he faced difficulties in 2011 during that election.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because what I've discovered in Zambian politics, which I found difficult, as you know, with my principles to grasp, coming from the corporate world, multinational corporate world, where you can differ with somebody, pound the table, and when the meeting is over, the two of you are going for lunch. That happened to me in New York several times. But in Zambian politics, instead of people working hard to sort out the common people's problems, they are busy backstabbing each other. They're backstabbing each other, daggers are flying and so forth. I'm not from that kind of an environment. And, even as an individual, I rose to quite a high position in a multinational. But you make sure that the people under you, know as much as you know, so that one day, if you have to be promoted, your boss won't say, hang on, this is what we wanted to do, but there's nobody to replace you.
So it wouldn't surprise you that in 2011 Rupiah Banda would actually lose that election.
No, it didn't. Apart from the tide, changing. I think that there were people within MMD that were working against him, which is why you see even today, somebody loses, they jump to the party that seems to be doing well and either going into government or has formed government. So here's one thing that goes for RB: loyalty. He remained unique. I know quite a few people that I interacted
Now,
with
are you
at the top level.
suggesting that by the time he's becoming vice president of the country and is becoming president of MMD, he was actually UNIP? Or are you saying that he left UNIP? Anyway,
No,
what does it even mean to be UNIP?
No. I think at that point, one thing we've got to understand, perhaps it doesn't function well here, but in other countries, in developed democracies, there are people from another party that won't oppose you for the sake of opposition. I can give you an example. You were in that region. You remember Senator Bob Dole of the Republican Party he also ran for president. I had tremendous respect for him because he's one person that would stand up and, President Clinton or something would say something and you say, I agree with the president on that. I think we ought to do this. There's very few people this side that will do it. There are very few people that will serve, that will come from another party to serve the country, not self-interest. And I believe RB came in to serve the country and not self-interest.
So even if it meant actually leaving behind his UNIP identity to become MMD and eventually to become president of the Republic and president of the MMD. Okay, so that's 2011. That must have been a very bitter loss. One of the things that I remembered about Arabi is, particularly during his presidency, was the language. Now, Mr. Malunga, I had put a status on my Facebook that has gone a little bit crazy, and I was asking what language Arabi was actually speaking in. Now, I know that this might appear a little bit insensitive. So when Arabi is speaking the language, I do understand that it was in Senga, right? Like when he's referring to his son, ati ngatinjala ya munyokola azaka bwena. When he's when that monkey urinated on him, he looked up and said, "Kanitundira." He was a very hilarious guy. Now, what language was that? That's in Senga, isn't it?
Yeah, that's in Senga. Yes.
And in Senga is the most widely spoken language in the Eastern Province. Would that be a correct characterization? That even non-Sengas actually speak in
from
Senga?
Petauke going up to Chipata, yeah.
Okay, all right. So those are some of the things that are going to be very memorable about Rupiah Banda. He lightened the moment. He used very good Nsenga to fight back, and some of those things are going to be remembered. But we also could remember him for the Barotseland reprisal in January 2011. I think that was, in my own opinion, it could have been responsible for mobilizing his opposition, actually, to find the crucial 50,000 votes to oust him, in my opinion. Do you have any ideas about that?
No, for personal reasons, I have stayed away from the Barotse issue because it's quite sensitive. But the major reason,
Mr. Malunga, but the reaction is. But the reaction is historic, right? He's historical. So the way Arabi responded to the Barotseland uprising is a historical fact. Yeah. And the shooting in Mongo in January 2011, they remain part of our history.
Yeah.
And so could that have led to making Arabi who he is, in discussing his legacy?
Yeah, perhaps so. But I think perhaps this is not even the place that I could discuss my thoughts on the Barotse issue, because I do hold some views on on how that situation can be sorted out if somebody will want to listen. If somebody will listen to me, I do have views, and I do understand also, the thoughts of our people in that area, why they say or do make certain statements, the way they do. I do appreciate their position, but there is a way out. There definitely is.
Okay. Thank you. Now, so you're free. We're going to get a lot more people coming on the program in order for them to reflect on the life of Rupiah Banda, and just let me know. We'll be getting some reactions from you. I now have Honorable Hudson Mabeta. Honorable Hudson Mabeta, good evening.
Good evening, Doc. Good evening, Malunga.
Hi there.
Good evening, thank you.
Good evening.
Now, Honorable Mabeta, we understand that there is a battle for powder in Parliament today.
Wow, it's one of those traditions which has been part of our culture for some time. So, yes, we've seen that happening anyway. I don't understand what that means, basically, myself.
At the police intervening, we understand there is a statement from police spokesperson Ray Hamonga.
A statement over what?
A statement over the powdering of people.
Oh, I haven't seen it because it doesn't really concern me, so I haven't taken interest to understand what's happening there. Yeah.
Mr. Malunga, have you taken interest in the powdering and the police saying that they're asking the citizens they're trying to control it? The police wants to intervene in it?
My wife was just mentioned something, so I haven't been following up all these things because I've been off Facebook for about 3 weeks, off social media, once in a while on Twitter. So, but there's nothing on Twitter so far that I've seen. But I know Facebook must be awash with what's going on. So I have no idea. Somebody sent me a WhatsApp, and there's somebody there full of powder, and I didn't bother, watching it or paying attention to the whole thing. So I don't know what's going on. Is it some cosmetic competition or something?
No, it is, the traditional cousinship between the Bemba speaking peoples and the Easterners and Umozi Kumala. And so there is this thing of smearing powder and white powder on each other as a way to mourn the departing of Rupiah Banda. And I think it should be done moderately, but I think it has gone way over the top and the police want to intervene.
I wouldn't appreciate it. I wouldn't allow it. I mean, if I've put my lotion and perfume at home, don't put Johnson's baby powder on me.
Honorable Hudson Mabeta.
I understand it as cousinship, but I think sometimes we overdo these things.
Yeah. The life and legacy of Rupiah Banda, Zambia's 4th president. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's. I personally, I'm a person who believes in the African way of life. Ubuntu. As Africans, we've had the way we tend to live together, the way we tend to communicate toward each other, the way we tend to engage each other. I think Arabi, among us, the president have lived the presidents have seen and grow, had shown tremendous effort towards Ubuntu. He was a man who was able to consider a human being as a fellow human being. Though his stay was short-lived, we know he lived that up to God. I think remains the shortest president we had. So we didn't really come to know and appreciate what he had to offer to this country. Only at a time when we had the 2021 election, you know, the 2021 election could have split this country, could have set this country ablaze. So maybe God allowed him to be a president for a short period of time for him to come and contribute towards this peaceful transition of power from PF to UPND. Because I'm sure if he wasn't a president before, it would have been difficult for him even to mediate or to encourage the losing candidates, because he shared his experience and how he managed the defeat. So that became very critical in the 2021 election. So much this election was very tense, but he managed to quench the tension. And here we are today. Zambia remains or becomes a beacon of democracy in Africa because of the role RB played. So his ascendance to power could have been for the purpose of leaving this legacy, which we shall always remember him for.
Some are saying, pointing to some repressions, like the Barotseland repression of January 2011, and some opposition figures also are reflecting of it in that way, that in addition to him being a very jovial president, but that he also repressed the opposition quite a bit. Would you agree to that, or that's not your thought?
Yeah, I think in some occasions we saw him use strong language, like of course. I don't know what that meant, but somehow that was strong language. I remember there's one minister, MP, who he made it personal to say, I'm going to fire you and I'll come to and win you from your constituents. So at one point he was the one who was emotional.
Yeah.
So those sentiments obviously showed some form of anger in him, some form of willing to crush whoever he doesn't like. So that showed a bit of extreme. But overall, we are all human beings. Obviously, all have a negative and positive part of it. We all understand. We all have a weakness and a strength. So we shall focus on his strength as a human being, because we all have our own weaknesses. He experienced some form of extremist when he was pushed to the wall.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Mabeta. Now, one of the other things about Rupiah Banda, when we are reflecting upon him, is also his family. His children have played a very, very huge role in our country. Be it Andrew Banda, Henry Banda, Nenani Banda, and Dorika Banda. A very, very significant contribution, and I believe there are other bandas also that I've not mentioned here, but they've all played quite a huge role. And from us observing, we would obviously see that when he had his own issues with his son Andrew for his political persuasion, I think he took it very lightly, he himself, Rupiah Banda, by claiming that ngati yamunyo pola njala azaka bwera. That was quite a good way. Mr. Malunga, Arabi as a family man.
Well, I can't say much about his family. I only knew his big son, who was with me in Dola. We played Madalas football together. But I can understand. I found out people at that position. You sometimes get to a point where sometimes you say something that you will regret later, or if it is meant to be in jest, the people you are communicating with don't understand you. I know there's certain things that I write, which my daughter only understands because she says, when Dad writes something in Proverbs, she picks it up. So I mean, there's certain things that he said which actually boggled my mind. I wouldn't have said that. There are certain things that our politicians ought to learn, and it's not only at that level, it's really down going to the even lower levels, what to say, when to say it, or whether you should say it and not to say it, how to say it.
Right. Honorable Maveta, reflecting on Rupiah Banda from the way we observed it, his children. Now, some people don't know, but Andrew Banda, the vice chairman, national chairman of the UPND, is Rupiah Banda's son. Yeah, is Rupiah Banda's son. So some people might not know that, but his children have made and continue to make huge contribution to our nation, isn't it, Honorable Maveta?
Yeah, I think coming from a background where this country was highly polarized, it was so difficult to see how Rupiah Banda could have, President Rupiah Banda could have allowed his son to belong to a party which didn't support at that time. Remember, 2015, President Rupiah Banda decided to support the PF and Edgar Lungu, but he allowed his son to have his rights to conscience and to support whoever he thought. So, I mean, the political party he thought was for him. And the Eastern Province, Wamusha, I think Eastern Province remained a very critical province, and it will remain a very critical province, more of a swing province. We usually talk about Lusaka and Copper Belt, but when you look at political, Eastern Province remains a very critical province in terms of determining who wins the final results. So when you see UPN coming back to the political landscape, when you see the results UPN 2015, ex president Godfrey Wamwamba was coming from the northern part. So we expect that we had the Honorable Mutaki, a lot of support from the northern province. But we ended up getting more votes in Eastern Province than we got in the northern part, where we thought we were going to get it right. When we come to the 2021 election, Eastern Province gave us a very good position in terms of the total votes, but got 49% against 51, when we expected maybe UPND to get less than 30%. So his son's ability to mobilize and to continue with the people believe to say what was being preached about UPND being a second class, a second class political party which only Tongas had him and the team managed to choose such propaganda. So allowing his son to attend to his
line is quite bad, Honorable Maveta.
Well, his son to be able to do these questions.
Yeah, the line is quite bad, Honorable Maveta. I don't know what's happening to your audio. Patrick Chilufya.
Good evening, good evening.
We continue mourning Dr. Rupiah Banda, 85 years old, and you can slice his legacy into several pieces. And so we continue mourning. It's been several days now. Do you have any reflections on Rupiah Banda?
Thank you, Dr. Musha. Good evening, my big brother, Malunga. I've missed you on Facebook. I've missed you on Facebook.
We shall return one day.
Yeah, we'll keep on talking on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And God willing, I'll be in Zambia in June, so we'll meet.
That's good. That's great.
Yeah, Musha, the man we mourning today has really saved this country. I think over almost 60 years. Malunga might support me. And from what most of the people have said here, he was a gentleman. He was Ubuntu. I think when you look at the founding fathers, he's one of the though he was one of the youngest founding fathers of this nation, that group of people, Kaunda and the first founding fathers, BAKWETU Ubuntu, they were totally different. Their leadership style, corruption was very low. They loved the people, humanism, one Zambia, one nation.
But there's some people who say that there might have been corruption between 2008 and 2011. As a matter of fact,
No, I'm coming to there. I'm coming to there. Vamusha. I'm coming there. I'm just starting from the beginning. Yeah, but as a person, Rupiah Banda was a very good person, and I loved his language. That's like Vamusha. Wishanyandru ni mwana wa nyoko. You know, and his sense of humor. Imagine when my brother from the tree dropped something on his head, the way he reacted, with a sense of humor, but then the post messed it up. So this is a man, Bamunsha, retired, and then he came back. And I think from his behavior, the way he ruled the country, he was a statesman, smart, presidential material. Maybe because of his diplomatic experience, he was a diplomat. But Malunga might help me. Yeah, he was really a statesman. But the negative, and the economy was doing very well that time when he ruled he continued with after Mwanawasa died. But there was this thing, and I understand that's the reason why he came out of power, corruption. And that corruption wasn't mostly connected to Rupiah Banda, was connected to his children, who are no longer in the country now. They are in exile.
At least the perception of it, right? At least the perception of it. We are not sure whether it actually was there, but
that's
the perception.
But, but Mamunsha, I cry for Rupiah losing that election. Because if Rupiah didn't lose, Zambia wouldn't be in a mess where we are now. So in my mind, I say, if there was that corruption and it led to him losing that election, I blame him. But may his soul rest in peace. I've forgiven him. Yeah, but that's my cry, Mamusha. If Zambia would have been different by now, if Rupiah didn't lose that election.
Right.
Because whoever would have taken Zambia, apart from PF, Zambia wouldn't have been like the way we are now. We don't even have money in the coffers. But he was a good man.
Right.
That unique breed of leaders were very good people.
Now, Honorable Mabet, are you there? It appears like we are having difficulties with your line.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now, Honorable Mabeta, it appears like Zambia is thirsty for a father of the nation. And Pachiriro pa befia kulandalanda ine amushi. So if we can Pachiriro pajapene, if there is any place apa Ichongo ni Pachiriro. So while we are mourning, we have this issue of people wanting to be fathers of the nation. And of course, the main contender is former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Honorable Mabeta, you are our member of parliament. Do you have any thoughts about that? Do we need a father of the nation?
Yeah, I see all time. So meaning TVBAKWETU should show a lot of leadership style and a lot of unifying style. But what we know under the president is far from what we want to see from a father. It's far from what we want to see from a father. It's not something we can even talk about here. I joined active politics in 2013. Unfortunately, the shift in the political landscape, the atmosphere, the loss of Ubuntu in our way we talked, the way we addressed each other, there was so much hate speech, there was so much division. This is a man who could promote someone just by saying that HH is a Satanist and makes him permanent secretary. For damaging someone else's, someone was rewarding malice. If you have become malicious on someone, then you be appointed to be permanent secretary. So no, Vamusha, let's be honest and let's be serious. These titles don't come. You have to end them.
Right.
I agree.
And I agree.
Yeah, you see, how many fathers are you going to have?
That's my question, Malunga.
Yeah, this is where a family. You know, one thing I've noticed with us Zambians, especially when we try to exalt politicians, we love titles in whatever form or shape. We love title. People who are not honorable anymore, they still want it. My name is, I was attending some, said occasions, my name is Honorable Ujen. Just tell me my name is Ujen. You are not honorable where we are. You are honorable in Parliament. People love title. That's why, you get people saying, Bishop, Doctor, Reverend, Prophet, Ujen, State Council. That's totally unnecessary. Listen, we had a founding father. That's what you have. You bring, you go from father to father to father to confusion.
Uline mubike ko Reverend Doctor.
Reverend Doctor. State Council, no, Queen's Council. Yeah, so we that's not even anything to debate. We don't need to confer a title. Let's just go on. We have a president. We have a former president. That's what they are. We have former members of parliament. That's what they are. We have former ministers. Let's not cook up, and start transferring titles. Because one day you give the fatherhood is critical. Fatherhood, even biblically, it comes with a blessing.
What I mean is
one day you call somebody father of the nation, and they will impart some kind of spirit that will make you fatherless.
Vamunsha, title ya father. Tea kupela fetch pele. Somebody Bamusha. We are the father of the nation.
Father of the nation.
Bamusha, we'll tell you, South Africa, father of the nation is Mandela. Nobody is going to be called the father of the nation. Zambia is Kaunda. Who else is going to be? So are we going to replace legacy ya Kaunda to apela umbi? No, but let me tell you, Bamusha. Dr. Shushua, Ali Lembat, the father of the nation has been taken. But the corruption of the nation, father of corruption, it's up for grabs.
And the rewriting of the story. Now, bonse tule losha, imfoyaba Rupiah Banda. We are all mourning and we are crying. Number if I'm not just going to relax and say yom kwa it's okay. Pantutule losha, we can't say it. If anyone wants ukuchitalonda image ya Malunga, please do it. But please do not use the people of Zambia. But as far as we are concerned, no. and nothing has changed. Lungu's theft is still there, the corruption is still there, and it continues on. So why should we at Pantupadi Chidiro suddenly because Rupiah Banda afwa? Honorable Maveta, munjerereko.
Tachina patilo para fumotoro to, tell me patilo papa nensaka. Ichiro chira tensaka na wantu mane kwa mushanga kwa kwate chiro fisa mkukumana. So patilo npansaka vamusha. Mukulu washa mala fumotoro, tolo mukulu washa na ine part of the nation. Abale andanisha balale kwisho kulosha. Nobody that takwisha kulosha tambo kulanda pani father of the nation. Nomba be na feta tula bamfule pia chiriro kuma 19 hours 20 hours they are doing propaganding. So ever
No, baba beta chako sa shani chako iniko muntu father of the nation. Valupira to be interpreted father of the nation. Ngapa chako sa shad nomba.
Kandi bukerenka bakuka abantu mwabeshi bashanje to bakwali onze kuba kwate baletangira kwate batengere bakwata amano beka lero nako fune twali kwata amano mukwaye.
Yeah, you know, sometimes we are so petty. We're so petty. Like, you know, why didn't HH wear, you know, a military uniform? You know, what for? I mean, he's not a soldier. He's commander-in-chief. How many presidents, heads of state who are commander-in-chiefs? Did you see Barack Obama in a military uniform? Have you seen, you know, Mugabe or whoever? You know, it's you know, once something starts, you know, it becomes, you know, like something that must be practiced by everyone at any place. I mean, presidents have their own styles. You know, I mean, some of these guys, you know, you can imagine them wearing military uniforms and how they would look. So, you know, this father of the nation, it's really on the same wavelength. It's totally unnecessary, you know,
Right.
not to start
Now,
giving us people.
Now,
who
tied to that
accept.
is this desire to try and launder the image of Edgar Chagwa Lungu.
Exactly.
I have very huge problems with that. Now, I know that there are some people within the UPND establishment that think that it is wise to actually do this. I'm referring to a statement by one spokesperson, a very good guy. He's saying Edgar Lungu should become the statesman that he is. The only problem is that he's associating with Patriotic Front. This is a guy speaking on behalf of the government of the Republic of Zambia. We must object to such things.
I don't subscribe to that. You know, whoever said that, I disagree with him.
No. Whoever you are, no. The problem with PF is not that there is a distinction here between what Edgar Lungu did and what the Patriotic Front did. Edgar Lungu was the leader of this criminal organization known as the Patriotic Front. And so we can't say that no, Edgar Lungu should be extricated. Is that the correct language? Should be extricated from the Patriotic Front so that he becomes the statesman that he is. No.
Let me make a statement. Nobody in PF should come anywhere near being given the title of Father of the Nation, which is unnecessary anyway. None of them deserve it. I have said it boldly.
Now, you need to also speak to UPND, because some people in UPND, suddenly, they are trying to launder this image. A spokesperson, Eulandire, he was being interviewed, Edgar Lungu now being the only surviving president, Afuire Aba respected as the father of the nation, and he needs to dissociate himself from the Patriotic Front, because it's the Patriotic Front that is making him appear politically compromised.
Even if he disassociates himself from the Patriotic Front, it's totally unnecessary and undeserving to call anybody now Father of the Nation, period.
Honorable Mabet.
Yeah, but I think it's super sometimes so African culture, we like exaggerating things, you know. But something which is simple, like we want to expand it to a point where it becomes an issue. We're not lacking a part of the nation. Whether it's lacking this remains the part of the nation. So why should we start exaggerating? Why should we start debating something which is already existing? What are we trying to do? You know? So what we need, the most important thing what we need now is to ensure that let's mourn at put the legacy of our great President Rupiah Banda and the contribution he put, the contribution he brought to this country. As you have said, he ruled over, he gave over 30 years of his life to the service of Zambia and learn good things from him. Let's look the positive he brought, you know. The Ubuntu, which you are saying, the people who say we found the heart, we need to go back that, because that's what's been missing in Zambia. We've lost love against each other. We've lost respect for each other. We've lost sympathy and empathy for each other. In Zambia, actually, what a problem. We've been celebrating the failures instead of empathizing with them. So we've lost the core value of Ubuntu, you know, and that's something we should learn from Rupiah Banda. How he tried to continue propagating what we had first in the first government. There was so much love among themselves. There was so much desire to see that other human beings develop.
Yeah.
Infrastructure without damaging the economy.
Right.
Can I say something, Bamusha?
Yeah, please do.
Bamusha, on a serious note, a father of the nation is a very, very serious title. Bamusha, father of the nation, who made the economy to be like the way it is, people suffering, students couldn't, you know, were not given bursaries. Father of the nation who made corruption became business. You know, young people found with millions of kwacha, Mumayanda, while Zambians are suffering. Which father can do that?
But there are some people within the movement, within UPND, that think that Edgar Lungu should be accorded this rare honor of being respected as father of the nation.
Gabali bali pila baweke shemwe ndalama bamusha.
Anyway, ni pachiriro pano tulelosha and pachiriro paleto tuntu tuwakulandalanda pachiriro ifwe tatuwa bamwe ifefe ko bachani no ni mwobo mwaleta mulomo because umuntu nafwa tufure tuwalosha arabi epela and accord him the respect of a former head of state and discuss his legacy.
Yeah.
Nomba kulia bale foku piana. Yo, Arabi was a good person. He served this country. That's it. In order for us to move our country forward, we need to be very categorical against corruption. Otherwise, if you excuse corruption under the Patriotic Front, the UPND will also do the same.
Yeah.
If you begin excusing it by father, you know dipo. After I leave, they'll call me
father of the nation. What corruption?
When we are saying no to corruption, it is because we know the kind of effect that this thing has on us as a country. And so we are principle-centered. We are not centered on, we've tried all these things. What we need is to be principle-centered, fight corruption, and not launder the image of people that put us in this place where we are. Yeah, we can't do that. Anyway, we have 2 more minutes. Honorable Maveta.
Yeah, one thing I want to learn from Rupiah Banda, President Rupiah Banda life is
Yes, it's breaking. Your line is breaking quite a bit. Yeah, your line is breaking quite a bit.
Able to get me now?
Yeah, I can get you.
Okay, go ahead.
You able to get me?
Yes.
Okay, one thing I've learned from his life is God's time with the best. President Rupiah Banda is this man who went into retirement, was enjoying his retirement at the farm. Then somebody, when I also thought about him, brought him to be vice president, and eventually became the president. You know, he's not a person who kept on fighting and fighting and fighting and became president. No, is a person who waited for God's time for him to. So in life, sometimes we end up depressing ourselves, we end up becoming bitter because we don't want things to happen as God's will. When God has destined something for you, do your part and allow Him to do His part. Some things which we even cry for, they end up just bringing more pain to our lives than the benefits which we think we'd want to have. So from his life, I think President Rupiah Banda has taught me to say God's time is the best. Do your part, rest, and God's going to reward you when it's fit for Him to reward you of whatever you desire in your life. And when he left his presidency, he wasn't bitter about it. He didn't want to fight to cling on to say this opportunity has only come once in my life. If I lose it, then that's the end. He accepted defeat painfully, and he went to rest. So this is a man who has taught something about life to say, when it's not working, and God says no, accept that no in your life. Don't start looking for excuse to say, why did I become president and suddenly I've lost the presidency? So in life, let's allow God to make a decision on what He wants us to. What is best for us. So his life has got a lot of lessons in how life can suddenly go up, drop, but accept every situation will come across. When it's positive, praise God for it. When it's negative, also thank Him for the opportunity He gave you to serve.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable. Jacqueline Shimba, Rupiah Banda, 85 years old, former president. We are in mourning.
Indeed. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for having me, Bamonsha. I didn't know you had actually gone back, but it's good to see you. Indeed, we're in mourning. I had an opportunity to work with the former president, and I think for me, I encountered a very fatherly figure, always jovial, but at the same time wanting results. And I think that right now we are having debates that are really so unnecessary, especially when we talk around father of the nation. Every country has had its founding father, especially in Africa. If you look at Namibia, where I lived for so many years, they had their founding father, Sam Nujoma. We have the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Nyereres. If we are going to, at every point when a head of state passes on, we start these debates of father of the nation, I think we are actually, one, dividing ourselves, and two, focusing on issues that are not priority to the Zambian people right now. Zambians want food, Zambians want shelter, Zambians want to see that services are delivered to them. Zambians right now want to see development, and they want to see that all those guys, baraba ibilendalama badya, bengire mchifungo batupere n'endalama sheso. Ayama debate akwatu muntu ali tushire mu nsala, bale tupuma pamisebo, bana mayo bale kwata n'omwenso, tetulande nefutulelanda pano. Mwise fetuambe wonso kula imati no eba shele puero chaba na shani. No, I think let's focus on mourning Rupiah, remembering him. He wasn't perfect either. There hasn't been a perfect leader in this country, honestly speaking, just like there's no perfect human being. But let's focus on celebrating his life. He did a lot of good things. He was a jovial man. Let's focus on that. The father of the nation thing, nabale kwati bachite, bantu balane milandu tatulapwa. Abantu babo one by one, tuchiri fire. Ukuno kuko tuamfwa nefinefi. Ero leo tuse tuambe kalekeleti, wesheni infumu, weni wakapaso bonse baine milandu line. Infumu yale mipuma, infumu ya mishire munsala mchipowe. Ero tuimererwa chibu wesheni infumu ise iteke futi. Oro isanduke chakuti. I think, gentlemen, let's focus. Move patara right now, tamuli imiti. Mulinama issues, our people are trying to get medicines. Let's focus. Thank you very much, Ramonji.
But Jacqueline, shimbemiti shirikui, muchipatara tamuli imiti.
Muchipatara tamuli imiti, umlando, when bale fight, day second procurement, they discovered that there's overpricing from suppliers. And cartels, kashina cartels, mweta mwene mwa ishbetsungu and finch. Okobayo mtengo fulfi wani na nina. So apart cleaning, it kofena, a bit difficult. Today I was speaking to somebody who was telling me that no, we will have medicines again in the hospitals in abundance, maybe from about 2 weeks' time. And I was saying to them, so what happens between now and then? Because in 2 weeks, immediately, then what happens? But the issue is, it's the overpricing. Abantu bali pangiro tubungwe, pana dongo, bali fa kukutisha ngani 50 ngwe. Bena bali se mtu pet pa 1 kwacha 50 ngwe. Lo lero
Is that a statement from Zamra or Zamra?
No, I think that is emanating from, if you read the ministerial statement yesterday from Ministry of Health, okay, the number of things that were tackled in there by Honorable Masebo. But the issue of medicines is heated right now because even if a statement has not been released, you can send people to even go in clinics tomorrow. And I support this government, number one, top notch. But ngatamuli imiti ngakuli problem malabalechita overprice. Suppliers. Let's get new suppliers. Are they willing to supply pamtengo if you will? Kale bachite supply abantu bakwate imiti.
The issues at Ministry of Health, they are really becoming too much, and we cannot just say it's okay. Anyway, it will be for another day. That will be for another day. That will be for another day. We are going to talk about Ministry of Health because I am unsatisfied with what is going on at the Ministry of Health. I can't speak for everyone, but I am very, very unhappy at what is happening at the Ministry of Health. And 6 months is too long a time to correct whatever rot was going on. It is inexcusable that 6 months later, we should be facing the same challenges at the Ministry of Health. We believe in this government, we believe in this president, and we believe in the UPND. But what is happening at the Ministry of Health is extremely concerning. Very, very concerning. And we are hoping that it will be attended to as soon as possible. Anyway. We are mourning Rupiah Banda. Richard Wadia.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Musha.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chirufia and Mr. Malunga and our mother, Bachimba Jacqueline.
Good evening, Richard.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. Mkwai, ba Musha kwene chakubaira poine kwena kutashalesa. Pali pamwe wa Rupiah Banda because akubula ba Rupiah Banda ndesubira Malunga batabachitira overpower instrument of power. Twali mwene after bamona tibambo
ngatwalia bakubapoka mwebo ngatwalia pokolola. Yabo.
Mwali mwene kwe.
Oh. Yango babwalya baya. Mwachumvuvi bachamba babwalya. Ati yo mukwainga tabatu pere. Nomba fiabo. If yabe nefika twana omwenso mwebo. Ali ama instrument of power Yesu. Gatwalia kubapokolola. Vachishimba wesu.
Mkwai.
Ngabali ikatitire finti fishari fiabo. Tari ngatwalia kupokolola. If Yesu.
Ngatwalia pokolola kwena.
Anyway.
Ero ngecha tupere na maka chakweva fiati. Ama results yene yali soseria yene. Ba 2.8 bali monekere fe bwino. Ero remember ni ba youth. Icho tuilala bafe nokulaba chino echalo chaba youth. Actually, that's another topic, Mamusha, we need to have. The welfare of our youth in this country is highly concerning. It's worrying. And if all of us who are adults forget that this country is more than 60% youth, then honestly speaking, we're not serious. So, balanga bali katigiri abene bama votes by youth. Ngabali yapo kefipe.
Ngatuwalia poka atuchimfye ati yo mkwaisha apere we mwaume kainge naulusa waliminine nomunobe aiminina ero walusa tadi kulekerako anyway babwalya twachimikata pakanwa
Mkwaye natotera sana ekyo nachalanda chakutira kwena Rupiah Banda lesa iwa wasungira omwoyo palira nshita ukwisafika na pali nonyi nshita tuse aba bantu bababike in mentor balungu kubakoseresha kwa tumona munena ine chali nchitikire mu 2011 ala chipafe because twali mwena after twafuma mukuvota twasa muna balemba pa page pamwa but no this election is not free and fair but inisheka teka alipo so pala kwati bafole kustudy clear state of emergency umuntu nakwata ama instrument of power tyo election is not free and fair so basa mona aisa kwato mwenso so oluchero twamona tona babeta balungu na bakainde bali kunganda abarupiya uku kwati bakite conceded defeat otherwise abo bali koserefe umutima nga Putin so nomba we appreciate God nomba lesa na mukosha kwena bali mpera nombe nchita kweyatusha bali bomba nchito ikalamba edio chimbi ndefo okulandapo Dr. Mwisha chakwe bati abo abalera that no babe father of the nation balungu tabala ba clear dene ona bakwata ko tumira ndutu moto tabala suka iyo bantu tabala bekatako so bu father of the nation tabwisa fe naba chirota babe trepo as the father of the nation mwamona nangu ni ba satana nguli ba mwana whatever walipo lelo batekanye ba PF that's why ababantu ba PF I think na mapela lumu ikuru sana kuli kateka wachino chalo ba akainde chirema. These people they have to be dealt with. Mona if watch the for what they conduct in parliament. Set of them they were protesting and they have been given suspension. If they chwe mbachilanda ati umuntu uku alira chimbwi nishikule nshiba mwishe muri babemba imwe eko washike mfutu takufure kwa alira chimbwi yo ero nga wapangire ensofu nishikoma oli no mufwi wakuipayira kwa ensofu so ababantu balefuwa ikwa sana oku discipline nangu ifine bali misbehave nangu bamundubira so is so childish. He is a leader for this country, is for the opposition to be disciplined and abantu nangu muntu alirufyanya omuntu afira showing ayalimo so kwebata abantu batu alirufyanya abantu nomba tabalanga pofiria ba PF nomba ni picture nshibenga langa kuli aba even the cadres they have muli ya chipani because them right. They are behaving in that way in parliament what more nga basabula foot power iyo inachonde pepa kwenda kulile kapero mweo kalamba kuli bakainde chino bati balulinge 2 terms at the moment tulefwa 2 terms iba kumanye bakapena successor umbi not awa mkukuru bankonka mpulo bakatiete mwenda mwalimwa bamumbi munda tatuleba fuwa yo
nomba
mulembika papa program wayengi sana kwa bati tulela nshanya if you abonza wale lota tyo father of the nation shani awe tatulefwa at the moment tetule fwa kula piane fintu tabala tamulashika takula bane sambo lya mfwero mbomole mule butukile fintu bonso boni bu ni okay they are evil I can put that na totela mkwaye shevu kula ndefingi
nabu kerenka bwinemo buli pantu kwena umwene Rupiah Banda no kushika tatula shika ati bapiane iyo pale
na totela mkwaye
kuchako bati bakabwala ala bebe echo tushupe ati yo mgwaite tulande pwati pantu ni pachiriro
aona kali
on that note, we've got to end our broadcast tonight. This has been a presentation of TVBAKWETU. Elias Monsha here, together with Mr. Wynegood Malunga, who is always available to give us that historical look onto the things that are happening in Zambia. Mr. Patrick Chilufya of the TVBAKWETU firm, Miss Jacqueline Chishimba, of course, and Brother Richard Boalia. Awawa alande amashuya moya kankala sana. Elias Monsha here. Good night and God bless. And God bless our country.